What's up, guys? Today I'll be breaking down the title picture in the men's flyweight division of the UFC. Now, this is an interesting one because there's plenty of new talent at the top of the rankings in this weight class right now, and it's as competitive as ever at 125 pounds. Needless to say, this is going to be a very interesting one, so sit back, relax, and enjoy. Now, flyweight is a tricky one because I don't think any of the contenders have that great of a case right now for the next title shot compared to the rest of them. So in other words, from the rankings of 1 through 5, I see a lot of these fighters to be relatively on the same level as one another. I think they could go back and forth with each other on pretty much any given day. While this has made the men's flyweight division as exciting as ever lately, it makes it quite difficult to pick the next title challenger that I want to see, to be honest. But needless to say, I try my best with this one. So first things first, on normal terms, I'd say that Brandon Moreno would deserve a rematch after losing his belt in such a close split decision loss to Pantoja in July. However, I think there's just one big problem with giving the title shot to Moreno, being that this would be his second quadrilogy in the UFC, and he has already gone 0-3 against Pantoja. Now, we know that didn't stop the UFC before from his quadrilogy with Deiveson Figueiredo, but in my opinion, 4 fights against the same opponent is not ideal in pretty much all cases because many fans just want to see new matchups for a relatively fan-friendly fighter in Brandon Moreno. He could still be a big draw for the UFC as something like a fight night headliner, even outside of the title picture. So moving on, while Deiveson Figueiredo would be an interesting matchup for Pantoja, I think it's hard to justify giving him another title shot after just coming off of losing his belt to Moreno in January. I think he probably needs at least one more win before he's back in the title picture. Now, it's also been a question for a while now whether Figueiredo is going to move up in weight class. He has insisted that he would over the summer, but then he booked a fight with Manel Kape that was supposed to be on the UFC 290 card, but was canceled because Figueiredo was not medically cleared to fight. If Figueiredo does decide to continue his career in the flyweight division, I do think he has a very good chance of being a title challenger again. But I do think it is safe to say that he probably needs at least one, maybe 2 more good performances against top contenders before you can justify giving him a title shot. So that leaves the only 2 who I think are left in the title conversation, which is Brandon Royval and Amir Albazi. Brandon Royval is coming off of a first-round knockout of Mateus Nicolau, and before that, a first-round submission of Matt Schnell, both who are within the top 8 of the UFC flyweight rankings as of recording this video. Meanwhile, Albazi is coming off of a controversial split decision victory over Kai Kara-France and a third-round knockout of Alejandro Costa before that. Now, when comparing these fighters, I think that they are a clear number 1 and number 2 most deserving challengers at the moment in the flyweight division. I do think that the slightly better case for the next title shot lies with Brandon Royval. His recent fights have been more dominant performances with 2 first-round finishes against 2 ranked opponents, while Amir Albazi's last win many people thought should have been a loss against Kai Kara-France, including myself. Brandon Royval is currently on a 3-fight winning streak, also taking out Rogerio Bontorin in a split decision victory, as well as the opponents just mentioned. To be fair, I don't think Brandon Royval's case for the next title shot is that amazing compared to other contenders either, but I do think he's the most enticing opponent for the next title shot if the UFC needed to pick a next challenger ASAP, while still having a great resume to back it up and some momentum behind him. Now, it's very important to note that Brandon Royval and Alejandro Pantoja did face off before in 2021 when Pantoja beat Royval with his signature back take into a rear naked choke. I think at the moment it's difficult to say whether this would happen again because we don't really know if Pantoja's a level above the rest of the challengers or if he's just on a comparable level to them. He has shown clearly in his last few fights that he heavily relies on his jiu-jitsu to chase submissions, tire out his opponents, and accumulate control time. So if he's paired up to fight another skilled grappler in Brandon Royval that has shown plenty of improvement since their last fight, it could result in a very competitive matchup, to say the least. So in conclusion, if I was responsible for matchmaking the next title shot, I'd probably have to go with Brandon Royval. To be honest, I can't say I'm terribly passionate about this pick because, like I said, the flyweight division is just stacked with great, yet fairly equivalent talent at the top of the rankings at the moment. But nonetheless, that's what I got for you guys today, so thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys soon.